Hey there, welcome to the Environmental Career Coach. I'm super excited for today's video because we're interviewing Ricardo Calvo. He is the first and newest member to our Trusted Coaches Network. That is a brand new program. that a brand new program that we are bringing to the Environmental Career Coach so that we can expand the types and people that are available to you for coaching. We have different backgrounds, a lot of overlap in the type of advice that we would give, but if you are in a specific industry, you want to get into consulting, Ricardo's your guy. And so if you are speak Spanish, Ricardo's your guy. So we can there's going to be more people joining so that you have more opportunities to choose someone who's a great fit for you while continuing to deliver impactful coaching advice that is based in environmental professional backgrounds. We have been there and been in your shoes, and so we are the people to help you navigate your careers. So welcome, Ricardo. So glad to have you. Before we jump in, if you're watching, please hit the subscribe button. And at the end, if you like this video, hit like. And we hope to see you in future videos a little bit more often in the future. So anyway, with that, Ricardo, welcome. Let's start off with having you
Hi,
just tell
Laura.
us a little bit about who you are and your background and how you got into mentoring, because that's kind of where it started.
Yeah. Well, I got into mentoring mainly because I've been working for companies, large companies, for 30 something years. And I have seen so many promising professionals, some of whom can fulfill that promise and others who do not. And I have realized that for many of those who do not, what was lacking was having somebody who can provide them with guidance, with support, with leadership, with a sounding board. So from early on in my career, I was always interested in working with others and watching promises develop and working with people and helping as much as I could people develop their careers both within the companies I was working in and outside as well.
Awesome. And I'm just excited for that because, you've worked for some very big name organizations as well. So I don't know how much detail you want to go into the actual work that you did. I do think it's helpful for people to know, because one of the things that I find from 8 years of coaching is that one of the big issues is that especially recent graduates don't know what their options are. And I wouldn't even say
Right.
just graduates, because career changers too, they want to get into something that has more impact, that they've maybe at some point realized that, like, wow, I didn't know this was happening and I want to be part of the change. But they don't know what the options are.
Yeah, even with that, I came from Venezuela many years ago, more years than am willing to admit. Got my PhD in biology. And as I was approaching graduation, I was already married, and I would have loved to be an academic, right? A researcher, a university professor. And I looked for jobs in that realm. But being that I was already married and I wanted to settle, that wasn't working out. So I started applying to consulting jobs because I've been doing some consulting back in Venezuela, a little bit here and there. And it just so happened that I got a job with a small company in Miami, Florida. And I worked with them doing field work, wetland delineations, wildlife surveys. And it was kind of interesting, but not quite what I had studied for, with my PhD and everything. But that was really the beginning of a long career. And then from there, I worked for three large companies, 10 or more years with each of them. And in those situations, I grew into areas that I didn't go to school for: project management, marketing and business development, problem solving across environmental and social topics. So one of the things I learned and that I want to convey to um, the people who talk to us as coaches for them is that yes, you can plan your career, but you have to let the doors open in front of you and just walk through and do things that you may not think you will do today.
Absolutely, I agree with that 100%. And okay, so let's talk more about your coaching philosophies now. So for me, I'm always I believe that anybody can do anything. So a lot of my coaching is based off of that premise. If you come to me thinking, I don't know if I can do this, or 100 people have told me I shouldn't do this, I'm going to help you figure out how you can do it. It doesn't mean it will be easy or overnight, but we're going to find a way for you to do it. What's your basis of your coaching?
Yeah, let me start by saying that I apply a little angle to what you just said, right? Yes, I believe people can do pretty much anything, but also I believe that people are better suited for some things than for others. So part of what I do in coaching professionals is to help them find what they're good at. And being good at means technical aspects or adapting your behavioral traits and your personality to activities within the environmental career realm that fit you or that you fit them. So the more you can make that connection, the more open, the more assertive, the more comfortable you will be, and that kind of is a feedback loop, right? That will make you improve your performance in anything that you're doing.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Um, and then looking back on your career, is there anything you would have done different?
So a trick question.
I love asking this question. It makes people think.
Yeah, well, looking back and regretting or second guessing decisions that were made years ago is not my thing. Uh, I would have loved to be an academic, and I have seen many of my colleagues, being famous researchers today, and I look at that and say, oh, I wish I could have done that. But I have to say, my career as a consultant has been quite successful, and not only that, successful in terms of career progression, but also I can look back at what I have done, and I have contributed to real things, projects that have been implemented in challenging situations, either uh, socially conflict areas or biodiversity rich areas where development, yeah, we want it, but it should be done correctly. And I can point to projects that I helped improve. I helped the project be better. So that gives me quite a bit of satisfaction, and it makes me forget the potential regret I could have about not being an academic. And actually, let me add to that. Now that I have retired from full-time employment for companies, one of the things I'm beginning to do is retaking some of the scientific work that I did back in the 90s. I'm beginning to look at how I can add to that body of knowledge. So I'll be doing some science moving on from
Yeah,
here.
that's fantastic. And there's a couple things that you said in there. One, I think, is a good point, is not comparing yourself to other people in their past. It's your path is not the same. I dipped out of my environmental career after 10 years because of various reasons, but my path, the door that opened for me that presented itself was this career coaching, and I felt like this is where I can make the impact. So just because you're not doing the thing you thought doesn't mean you're not making an impact somewhere else. And looking at other people, you don't know on the surface if they're not looking at you going, man, I wish I was doing the project Ricardo was doing.
Right, right, right,
No. And so especially now they're like, where's my funding? um and then the other thing is, um when we are looking at, you know, what are our options and what can we do, there there's no one right answer, I don't think, either, as long as it continues to make us feel like what is successful, right? Like you could be successful researcher, you can be successful at habitat restoration or contributing to projects, but
right.
success is really what you define it to be, not what someone else does for your career.
Yeah, one of the things I do in my coaching is apply a concept that I really don't know if I came up with it. I have searched and I don't see anything similar in the literature, But it's this idea of developing your multiplying effect. That is, you can have a job or you can have a career. If what you want is a job, then you work from 8 to 5, go home, and that's about it. But if you want a career, then yes, you work from 8 to 5 and you fulfill your obligations at your job. But then you invest. You invest your time, you invest your knowledge, and you want to increase the ripple effect of what you do. If you do a task, you complete the task and then maybe add a little bit to it. If you, as you grow in your career, you make more contacts and you begin to influence other things within your organization where it's more than the definition or description of your job position. Those are the types of things that will make you grow. And that multiplying effect, that ripple effect, can be many different things. You can go, as you say, and become the best habitat restoration scientist in your consulting firm, or if you work for government. But you can also be the best business development person if you work for an organization that develops business. And you can be really good at selling services. So your multiplying effect kind of goes in that direction, or the technical direction, or the operations direction, and then you end up becoming the CEO of the company, right? And it doesn't matter what of those paths you end up taking, which one of those paths you take. What I think is valuable is that in whatever you do, you increase that multiplying effect, right? You expand yourself, you expand your ripple effect. And as long as you do that, I think you will find career satisfaction and you will find fulfillment in what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what we're trying to do here with the trusted network. I'm trying to it's not just me anymore. I want to add to it. And
Right.
that doesn't take away from me. Bringing in other coaches doesn't take anything away from me. It only adds to the number of people that we can serve and the number of impacts that we can make. And then each one of them, as they get their jobs and move into them, then that just grows. So that's really exciting to me.
Yeah, I'm very excited about joining your network because talk about multiplying effect, right? Now with the network, with you and I, we expanded in a number of areas, right? I can work in English and Spanish. I
Mm-hmm.
have international experience, so I can work with consultants and environmental professionals anywhere from Canada to Argentina and even in other parts of the world. Um, Between you and I, we have worked in and around government and consulting and industry. So together, we have a multiplying effect that has expanded from what it was when it was just you, right? And
Exactly.
hopefully, we will bring other coaches into the network and bring that to our professionals out there.
Exactly. So love all of that. One of the things that's on everyone's mind right now is, where is the industry in general going? What's happening with jobs? What's your view?
Yeah, it's tricky because it changes,
Yeah.
right? And even what's changing or what's happening today may not be what happens next year, right? Certainly in the United States, and let's stay within the US for now, there have been a little bit of a relaxation in the focus of the administration on environmental and social issues. Yet the regulations are still there. The compliance requirements are still there. Uh, the risks of not doing a project, for example, well done, goes beyond compliance. You can have all your permits. You can get your licenses and your authorizations and pass all your audits. And yet there may be lingering risks in the social realm with indigenous peoples, with biodiversity issues that are not quite covered in the permitting in the United States. And you still have to pay attention to those because nobody wants the bad publicity. Nobody wants the even the financial consequences of having a crisis in a project. I think project investors, be it lending institutions or private equity or others, are still very keen on, yeah, we're going to put money into this, but we don't want any problem with it. And compliance with the regulatory environment is only so much. And if it is relaxing for X, Y, or Z reason right now, then we have to pay more attention, not less, right? So in that sense, I think the importance of what we do is, if anything, becoming more uh, in, more intense in a way, right? Because we had to keep our eyes wide open to manage those risks beyond compliance. However, there is a trend in the industry where competition for jobs is very high. Companies are taking steps to reduce force in some cases. The federal government, as we know, reduced their workforce quite a bit. So we have a little bit of a glut of people looking for jobs. So the competition is intense. The positions are getting more and more and more candidates, and it's becoming a little bit harder. So that's part of what you and I do, is helping people differentiate themselves and find the way in which they can go through this glut and appear as the best candidate, right? So we have those two things. One, the industry itself is still requiring that we do things in a very purposeful way. And on the other hand, the competition for positions is very high right now.
Right. I would totally agree. I think the competition has increased not just from the cuts, but so many people since 2020. From my experience as a coach and watching what's happened, is so many people have moved in from other sectors, having nothing to do with
Right,
cuts and all of that,
right.
who are just interested in doing this good work. So it's
Not to mention, Laura, the effect that is still developing, and I don't know exactly where it's going to go, of AI,
that's exactly where I
right?
was headed as well.
Um, I just started my new practice as a sole practitioner. So I'm doing consulting and also the coaching. But on the consulting side, um, I have surprised myself, but everything that I can do with AI. And I think to myself, all the junior people that we hired in companies through the years, and what they do, and the learning curve that they have to go through and all that, versus what AI can do. And it is a challenge. I think, I mean, on one side is very good for me because I'm finding that I can get a lot done. But on the other hand, I see companies, consulting companies, large consulting companies, beginning to move a lot of work to AI generated content. So that adds to the complexity of the job market.
It does. It also adds to the complexity of the hiring practice itself, because you're not only competing with someone else who wrote a resume, you're competing against someone else's chat GPT written resume, which is a
Right.
whole different ballgame. So you're not even
Exactly.
competing with someone else who wrote a resume. It's two robots competing against getting this job because you probably used it too. And so it's a whole different, how do I get seen? How do I get, and
Right.
it's a problem too on the hiring side. I see a lot of video being a lot of the future, because if I can screen you better through submitting a video than on paper, that's probably more likely to be more prevalent. However, I've done some hiring myself where I've tried to have people do videos, and sometimes it's hard to tell if they're reading or if they're actually speaking. So
Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
it's definitely
However,
adding.
I think the importance of the human side is very much real. And I don't know, at least not yet. AI cannot substitute for that, right? So I think one of the things I
No.
work with people is don't lose your humanity, right? Your ability to see beyond what artificial intelligence can do.
Yeah,
As a human being, you can capture, you can interpret things with angles that no AI can do yet.
absolutely. And I think too, to just to end on a hopeful note, is that right now ChatGPT isn't taking a lot of full total jobs, but you need to know what it is and how to use it. It's definitely within a
Right,
person's
right,
benefit to not ignore it and be afraid of it and say, I don't want to touch it, because it's going to be like GIS or project management, like where
exactly.
hiring managers are going to know, what do you know about it? How have you used it? And do you know how it works? And so I think that is important. But let's we're running out of time. I want to keep these short so
Sure.
people get bored with us, and we can always come back on and talk some more later, which I would love to do. And but anything else you want to add before we jump off of this one?
Yeah, let me say something in Spanish for the audience who may be interested in receiving coaching in Spanish. Las carreras ambientales son sumamente importantes, no simplemente porque ay, somos verdes o queremos ayudar al ambiente. No, hay aspectos muy prácticos para hacer proyectos mejores, para ayudar a nuestras sociedades a vivir mejor. Y si estás buscando crecer en una carrera ambiental en los Estados Unidos siendo bilingüe, puedes hablar conmigo y hablamos en español si es lo que prefieres. Gracias.
Thank you. I love that. I have been trying to learn Spanish fluently for decades, and it's never made it to the priorities because I'm always building and doing something else. So
Well, we'll practice.
I really do. Yes, practicar, love it. I I really do appreciate that you're bringing this to the table, because I think it's very important. And even having the experience from moving from one country to another is, I think, also I get asked questions about that a lot. So I'm
Mhm,
really
mhm.
grateful to have you in the Trusted Coaches Network that we're starting, and just excited to see where it goes and the multiplying effect that we will have. So thank you,
Same
Ricardo.
here.
And
Thank
everyone,
you, Laura.
remember, subscribe, like if you enjoyed the conversation, and we will come back with more videos like this, and hopefully some new coaches too.
Bye bye.
Bye.